Hi everyone, welcome back to Heart2Heart Pod, a safe space to have honest and vulnerable conversations to connect and heal our hearts.
Yeah, welcome to KoreaTalk. We're talking about our stories while we were expats in South Korea teaching in Daejeon. This is our third episode of this mini series. We're just having a blast sharing our stories with you all. And we noticed that we had some positive feedback from our listeners, which was very encouraging. I never had a fan before, but but I'm starting to feel a little bit like a star. I don't know, but how about you, Tina? Is it getting to your ego a little bit, or?
Well, I mean, honestly, like with this, know that we're doing it for us, right? And whoever wants to tune in and they find it entertaining and want to know more about Korea and our experiences, they do. And I did have a couple of feedback from friends who were saying how, like they enjoyed our series and they're thinking like, oh, like how would I react if I was in your situation, kind of thing. And did you hear anything about anyone on your end?
On my end, there was just a lot of excitement and interest, I guess, about it. They were really surprised that I was doing something like that, I guess. So I think overall it's just very positive,
That's good.
warm reactions towards it. Yeah, so it's been fun.
Okay, great. Yeah, and this episode we are basically continuing with our culture shock experiences.
Yeah.
And gonna talk more about our life in Daejeon. Yeah, and as we continue to like share our experiences and stories, we're gonna reveal more culture shock for sure.
Yeah, culture shock is such a fun topic. Like there's all these. One of the best parts about being an expat is experiencing something new, like delicious food or a festival or music. But then there's those moments where you're just like, what? And it's not entirely negative, right? It's just really surprising.
Exactly.
And it gives you another perspective, like, oh, there isn't just one way to do things, right? There's so many ways to approach specific challenges or parts of life. So it's really neat.
Yeah. And so back to our last conversation about central heating in the school. I remember like during winter time when I'm teaching in my winter coat and the students are wearing their coats too. And here I'm thinking like, no wonder everyone's sick all the time, like you and I, like, how can I teach? How can they learn when we're also cold?
And you have a country that you see Sundong, you see the neon lights, you see the subway system, world class, high tech, but then you have schools that are not modern in that sense of having this is something that's, small town in the USA, we have central heat and cooling. This is never an issue. We have a tiny fraction of the budget compared to this major city school, but they still don't have central heating and cooling. And I'm just like, they have way better food, that's for sure. Fresh, real food. They have all sorts of upscale amenities, but when it comes to something that seems so basic, it's almost seen as an extra thing, like not a necessity, just a comfort or a luxury. Yeah.
I do want to talk about the transportation system.
Oh, yeah.
And from my opinion of it, in terms of like the train, subway, bus, that it is very quick, efficient, safe, and clean, and also very affordable. So with the subway, they have a subway app where you can check the times when the subway comes. And when it goes from one station to another, it is very accurate. And it just made me think, compared to back home in Toronto, how we always have station closures, and sometimes there's no service, it's not very clean. And because of these closures, sometimes I'm late to work, right? So then I'm just like, wow, I love Korea's subway system, just like their transportation system in general, especially in Daejeon, having been very convenient to go to other places and very quick. Another thing I want to add is that they have black ones, screen doors, and we don't have that back in Toronto. And I actually think that we should have those because just the number of times that there has been accidents on the tracks because like people like jump on the tracks or there's fights and someone might actually be pushed on the railway tracks, right? It's so safe that Korea has those platforms. Doors.
Definitely. Yeah, this is world-class transportation at an accessible price point. I think it should be the blueprint. It should be the model for the world. And the thing is, imagine being an expat in a country and not being able to get around safely and it being prohibitively expensive. Then you are cut off from the country and you're cut off from experiencing the country. So having this transportation being so clean, so cheap, so efficient, it's one of the best parts of being an expat in Korea is being able to get anywhere you want to go to in a safe and efficient manner. And I missed it. I didn't have to drive for a year, and I did not miss it.
I did not miss driving.
Yeah.
And I actually enjoyed walking a lot and just taking the subway.
And think of the things you see while you're walking or while you're commuting, and versus just being alone in your car and not having to have any fear of an accident and not having to pay insurance or for gas or car payments. It's just all very affordable. And I think, I hope one day that, the U.S. catches up in that area. We're a car country. I guess it's not feasible in towns, and they do drive more there. But they still have buses everywhere, and it's really amazing, and I miss it for sure.
Yeah, and even have to say with the trains to Seoul or other areas, it's very fast. There is also the bus. It's like you can also take the bus to go to Seoul, right? And it's comfortable. It's slower, but still is very affordable. And then there's the local bus. Which I felt like personally it was really fast. And I felt like many times where I'm able to fall over any moment while holding on tightly to those grab handles. Yeah. So
I feel like they could be a little bit slower, you know, and just have people plan their day a little bit better so that they don't have to rush. I think that would be nicer because they do go a little fast. And it makes it a little bit inaccessible for someone that isn't able-bodied to be able to hold on to the pole. And if I struggle with it, in my 20s, how hard is it going to be if I were in my 50s or 60s trying to get around on this thing? It'd be very challenging. So I think that could be improved a little bit.
Did you take the ferry at all in Korea?
In Seoul, you mean the Seoul ferry? Or
I took a ferry. I took a ferry from Busan
you went somewhere.
Japan, and I took it was a high-speed ferry that took like a couple of hours. It took a couple of hours.
That's it? Yeah. Oh wow.
And I was in Japan.
So fast.
So that's how amazing it is to be so close to Japan and having so many different modes of transportation.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think it can't be beat with rural, and that's why I think it's a good beginner area for expats because if you want to be an expat, I think that's what makes Korea so good. There is English, especially in like Seoul. So if you spent like maybe 10, 20 hours learning the language, you'd know enough to get by, and then you would be able to get anywhere for super cheap. So I think that transportation is something that it's not like that everywhere. Like in other countries, it's super expensive or confusing. So to be able to get anywhere for so cheap is a huge strength of that area. Yeah. Unless you run into ajamas. So, on the subway, I've been pushed a few times by these women in their 50s, even 60s, when I was in their way. They're trying to get off the subway and I was in their way, and they're not very big, but they just with one hand just move me to the side. I'm twice their size, but they get this inner strength to just just nudge me along like I'm nothing, like I'm a sack of potatoes, and just like move me out of the way because they got to get off. You know, the fighting for the seat, the open seat on the subway is a coveted spot because there's not that many seats for the amount of people there. So you have to really plan ahead to get a seat. But yeah, if you see like this Ajima and you go for the seat, you're not gonna get the seat. You know, you just give up. There's no way.
Yeah.
There's no way. It's just,
and
they're
due
too
to
quick.
respect too, right? You want to give it a seat for elderly.
But you're not gonna get there first. They're so quick. So yeah, I mean either way. Yeah, you should show respect. They even have an elderly or disabled sitting area in the subways too, which are a little bit controversial because you know there sometimes would be women with their children that would try to sit in those areas, but the elderly think that's just for them. So there'd be a little bit of a fight that would occur every so often on who gets those areas. But I certainly did not mess with those areas. I wasn't going to get in trouble with everyone on the I did not get near those, but they have some accessibility things there too, and they also have seating that are just for pregnant women. There's in there, and it's pink, and it's really awkward to sit there if you're not pregnant.
But that's good they have that.
Yes, so they even have that, and it's super clean. So most of the time, unless it's at nighttime, someone gets sick. But overall, pretty clean.
So another culture shock experience, I would say, is just how safe people feel in terms of leaving valuables in cafes or in public areas unattended. And I remember, I think they talked about this during orientation week too, that it's like people might leave their like laptop or their valuables on the table and maybe go to the washroom and, they feel completely safe that no one's gonna steal anything. But for me personally, I just didn't feel comfortable leaving my valuables when I'm alone. So even I love to work at cafes and bring my laptop and everything, but every time I go to washroom, I would pack up everything or most of my valuable stuff in my backpack, and I would just wear my backpack and then go to washroom. I just never felt safe to leave things unattended. But how about you, Wes?
Yeah, so I wouldn't do that either, especially from USA. You can't leave your stuff out there alone. But I heard from community groups that people would do that and wouldn't have anything taken from them, which was cool. I left my backpack on the subway one time on the storage area, and it had some things in it, like not super valuable, but it had some clothes and a fan or whatever. And I got distracted and I left my backpack on the subway. So I tried to get it immediately, waiting for the next subway train and talking to the staff at the next station. And
I remember this.
And it was gone very quickly. Within probably 15 minutes, someone took my backpack.
Wow.
So that was really disappointing.
Oh, no.
And so I think it's more so that at the cafes there's cameras there, so you're definitely gonna get caught. But in a subway, it's just not it's more crowded and it's harder to tell. So I don't know. I think people steal everywhere. It's just you can't really in a cafe because of how it's set up.
Like that's why you and I would take everything with me, even hearing that it may be safer, because at the end of the day, we're all human and everyone's different, right? Like things like this happen all the time, anywhere, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think it's better to, especially, if your passport's in your backpack or your alien, your alien registration card's in your purse, you can't leave that unattended because that would be such a pain to get back. So I would say, unless you're with other people that you know really well, you don't. And, even if they're people you just met, like random encounters, right? You should be cognizant of that and still keep your valuables with you and your identification with you just in case. But fortunately, I didn't have any issues of, Actually, I left my wallet. It fell in my pocket in a taxi cab one time,
What? It fell
and
out.
someone found it, and my number was in there, my
Uh-huh.
ID or something, and they called me and they gave it back to me. So
Oh, good. That's a good
that
thing.
was really cool. Yeah, because I
Yeah.
had my ARC card in it, so
Yeah,
that
you
would
have
have been
all the, like,
yeah.
yeah, you needed that.
Besides my passport, but the ARC
Oh
card's
my
still
gosh.
important. So
Yeah,
so yeah, so that was a good experience. So yeah, there's definitely some impressive honesty in that regard,
that's
but
good.
I just you know I just think it's better to be safe than sorry.
One thing that stood out to me was when I went to Korea and in on the streets or in mostly in the classroom, I would notice that my students are wearing masks, right? Face masks.
Mm.
And I was like, yeah, I see it all around school. And at first I thought that maybe they might be sick, so they're wearing these face masks. And I would ask my co-teacher about it, and she said, she said, no, it's not because they're sick. It's because we wear it a lot because of the yellow dust. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
what do you mean? And she was like, oh yeah, they have the yellow dust that comes from China.
Mm.
So I'm like, oh really? That's like I thought that was really interesting hearing that. Yeah. What are your thoughts, Wes?
Right. So it sounds like a propaganda thing initially because your country has a lot of factories and that causes pollution. So
Mm-hmm.
to conveniently blame it on another country, I don't know. I think it comes from the Gobi Desert though, technically. So,
Mm-hmm.
and then the wind is what moves it. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not necessarily from Chinese pollution. It's kind of a combination of pollution from both countries and then the
Yeah,
Gobi
from
Desert.
in Asia or different.
Just so
Yeah, like the air
it's kind of a
quality.
natural it's a natural phenomenon based on
Uh-huh.
that desert and then factories and stuff. So I don't
But
know.
yeah,
But they're so quick to say it's from China. They
yeah,
almost
so
want to
quick to say
eagerly.
that,
It's from China.
right?
They almost
Yeah,
smile,
I
and
was
I'm
like
just
so
like,
surprised. I was
I'm
like,
so kind of surprised. Yeah,
oh,
because
because it's like it's not just it could be from surrounding other countries. It's not it's other places too, right? But then I
right.
guess it was just I was so curious why they were all wearing face masks, and then I also noticed how the air quality was, it was so humid in
Yeah,
Korea, and the air quality was not the best. Of course,
yeah, not the
can't
best.
compare with Canadian air quality, but for sure my allergies were really bad when I was in Korea. So that was something I
Oh
had
yeah.
to deal with. Another big struggle of mine.
Yeah, I think it's smart to wear, those masks going out during those times when the air quality is bad because it's so hard on your lungs and your allergies that I think it's not a bad idea. Even pre-COVID there were masks, right? So
Mhm.
I think, if it's bad enough, definitely wear the mask. Because it's not, I'm from a small town with virtually perfect air quality. So I did get some sinus infections and
Mhm.
various things because my body's not used to that. And
Mhm.
I'm from a town. So yeah, the air, yeah, that was a challenge for sure. Little things here or there, they can
Mhm.
add up over time. And that's kind of the hard part of it because you're just not used to it. So it's a whole nother thing. You have to endure it initially, right? So it's just
Mhm.
that's what can break that honeymoon phase is all the little things that
Mhm.
you have to adjust for. But then once you are adjusted to those things, you begin to see the good in where you are again.
Mhm. So back to the washrooms in Korea. I did want to share this story. Basically, tell me if you noticed this too, Wes. So I remember
Okay.
one time I was in a bar, and basically when I went to the washroom, I noticed that it's unisex. It's not like every restaurant or every place has this, but then I noticed for this one, there's stalls on one side, and then there's the urinals in the other side. Yeah, and
where were you? What city was this Daejeon
it was
or?
Daejeon. It was a central bar, and it was my first
Okay.
time seeing anything like this. I was like, whoa! Did you ever experience that?
I never saw that in Korea actually. Yeah,
Oh,
everything, because typically my experience with Koreans is everything is very much associated with they put your sex at birth, your sign sex, you have to go in this restroom or whatever. I didn't see too many of the where they were combined. The only time I saw that was actually my first experience with that was back in Kansas City.
oh,
There was a downtown restaurant kind of thing that had that, and I didn't go in there either, as I just wasn't used to that. I was just like, I'm gonna go to the one, another one. But yeah, like the bars though, they're fun. There's a lot of good ones, and they're quirky, right? They're not quite the same. I heard that some of them will not allow foreigners into the bar or restaurant from like some of my colleagues. Yeah, it was no foreigners allowed in some of the bars and clubs.
How come?
I don't know for
Okay.
sure, but I didn't know if you saw any signs or saw any of that. But I heard it's a thing in certain ones.
But yeah, the other thing that I feel like I want to talk about, which is pretty big, is basically how men have to serve in the military.
Oh, right.
Right. And did you know about this before?
So every able-bodied male is required to have mandatory conscription in the military for about a year, 9 months or so, and they have to do it between the ages of like 19 and 29, I believe. They have to do it within that span of time.
I looked online. It said 18 to 28 for 18 months, but I don't know if that's true.
That's not okay. Yeah, so I was approximate here. Take me as Google.
Oh yeah.
Take me as Google. I was pretty close though.
Yeah, I was just quickly
I was a year
Googling.
off. I was a year off, and then 2 months off. So I mean, that's pretty right. You get the gist of it, right?
Yeah.
They are paid, I believe, less than minimum wage, but it prepares them to be able to be reserves later on. So after they finish, they still have to check in every once in a while, and that's because of obviously there's an armistice with North Korea. The war's not over, right? So they have to be ready to join back in if things ever escalated. So typically they if I had to guess, I would say they would do it sometime during college, since after college they want to get their job and move on with their career.
Yeah, exactly.
But in case of like K-pop idols or athletes, it's better they do it later in their late 20s, because their prime is like when they're younger. So
they decide when to do those like 2 years of service.
Yeah, based on their profession, and if for some reason they tried to get out of it, there's a lot of societal condemnation. It doesn't matter if they're rich or not, or famous or not. If you're seen as dodging military service, you can basically ruin their career. So it's very much obligated. You're obligated to do it unless you have health reasons.
What if you don't? What happens? Do you know?
I think I would assume they would go to jail or prison. I would assume, but I'm not positive. And then if they're famous, that will ruin their career, obviously, because the last thing, it'd be totally unfair, right? If someone got out of it. So it's better if you're a K-pop idol, for example, or an actor or actress, to embrace it, or I guess an actor, because it's required of, not females, but, to embrace it instead of hiding away from it, because it can definitely be a career killer. So it's completely mandatory. However, there used to be a benefit on their resume towards serving in the military, but that was seen as unfair by those that were not able to do that for maybe health reasons or whatever.
Yeah.
And also from females that weren't serving, they'd be at a disadvantage. So
Right, yeah.
So they removed that benefit, to my knowledge, about 5 years ago or so, approximately. Don't look it up, please, Tina.
Yeah, someone please confirm all this. But yeah, this
approximately.
is like, yeah.
So there's currently really no benefit to it, but it's kind of a duty, right, within that country. It's something you do because of the situation.
Right.
So,
it was really interesting when I heard about that. Now let's talk more about Daejeon and our neighborhood and all that fun stuff.
Well, our neighborhood was not in the center of Daejeon, right? We were on the far west end, and it felt like a suburb to me. Like, it didn't feel, there were no really tall buildings, that like a downtown vibe, right? It was just like, there was some apartments, but it wasn't urban. It didn't feel urban at all. But I like that, since I'm from such a small town. For me, I could recognize my students once in a while out on the plaza area and the square, and everything was very accessible. There's a subway line that wasn't far away, and there were so many restaurants that people would go to after work and have like Korean barbecue or samgyeopsal, or there is Korean chicken, variety of there's an Italian restaurant that we went to one time. So just a variety of restaurants and drinking places. So there's just a lot of good things there. So it was pretty noisy from where I was staying, but I totally got used to it after a little while there, and it was a nice area. Several convenience stores and cafes, and just like in the dramas, right? Like a lot of the same place.
My neighborhood is near World Cup Stadium. But then I would say Norn, because I go there pretty often. It's basically my neighborhood, and also since that's where my school is, and it's not so far. It's like 10-minute walk to school, to that area where there's a lot of food, right? Restaurants and basically.
So your neighborhood was a little quieter though, like
it was. Very quiet in my neighborhood. It's not much there. But then when I go to Un, I bump into my students everywhere. And that's like the most fun part, because I always say hi to them and they'll like talk to me. And then every time I see my students, I have to take selfies with them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know. Because I'm like so excited to see them.
And these were elementary kids, right?
Yeah. And they're excited to see me too. They're
third, fourth, and fifth graders. Was that it?
Fifth and sixth. 3 to 6. They're so excited to see me. So then I take pictures with them. I feel like a celebrity, right? And even when I eat at restaurants, I see them. They've seen you too a couple of times. And one time I was in Busan on a weekend trip, and I bumped into one of my students.
Oh, wow.
I know, right? It's like such a small world, because I was there at that time and he was there too. So it was so fun. Well, and
I'm thinking that age, were they with their parents most of the time? Because I was never alone really at that age.
No,
walking around.
Shocking. Like the students, they're so young, right? Like 3rd, 4th grade, and they're alone, walking home alone, going to school alone. Yeah, that was another big thing
that would never happen with me.
Exactly. No. I would not be able to walk to school or go home by myself at that young.
I think by 6th grade I could, by 6th grade, but yeah, before that I wouldn't have. So I can't imagine 3rd grade West. No.
Yeah, so that was another thing. I was like, like these kids, and they're all walking to school.
So little, and they're
and there's no parents around supervising them or anything. And they all feel safe, to have them wander around the streets. And then they would, go after school, they'll play, and then they might go to private academy, right? They may have more school after, right? But otherwise, like I see them everywhere and just by themselves.
Oh, see, for me, it wasn't as bizarre, since I had middle school students that was around the age I started walking alone or by myself. So for me, it wasn't strange to see my 7th, 8th, or 9th graders on their own, you know, obviously that's not as surprising. But yeah, I figured the parents would have been there most of the time, but they were in Busan with their student, right? I hope they weren't like, traveling in Busan by themselves. Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, well, you know, like you know, in Korea, they typically work, you know, a lot of hours. So they're not, they send kids to academies after school. So they, as a form of babysitting in a way, right? And also it's very competitive academically. So getting them ready for high school, and that was the Sunin, which is their sort of their ACT or SAT. So you know, there's a lot of education, you know, money spent on that for sure.
Yeah, I remember like all the kids, they would have, they always tell me they have school, like they have to go to a private academy, school after, you know, the day school, and then they had students who tell me they go to Chinese school too. Like they learn.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Learn the language at that age? Wow.
Mandarin, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So it's really interesting.
So yeah, it's very structured and very, lots of structure, I would say. And another thing that was important, that was really nice, was there were a couple grocery stores, like maybe a 3-minute walk from my apartment, because I was in where the subway station was. Yeah, so close. So I could just go every day and get what I needed, for the most part. 2 main ones that I went to, there was Home Plus and E-Mart. And, you know, Home Plus, they're sort of similar, but I always went to the Home Plus because it was just a little bit closer, and they also had some of my favorite you know, snacks or treats or drinks, especially. It was the only place where I could find Dr. Pepper was at the Home Plus. I think they bought it just for me after a while, because I would buy all of the cans when it arrived, and you know, I would check every few days for a while there, just because the school lunches didn't have anything sweet typically, so it was too healthy for me, I guess. I needed some sugar and caffeine, so I was like, you know, Dr. Pepper's the way. So, and then all my students were curious about what it was. So I got like little individual sippy cups, and I like poured some for them before I drank it or whatever. And then they all tried it.
They liked it?
I'd say more than half of them liked it. So I'd say, yeah, the majority, not all of them, but you know, they wanted, it was nice that they were curious about what I was doing or drinking, and they wanted to try something new. I was pretty encouraged by the ones that were doing that. And this was in the teacher's office, mind you. They would be visiting the teacher's office all the time, and they would talk to me sometimes, and they would notice things. So so that was my I'd usually get it after lunch. There's a convenience store outside of the school grounds, so I would just kind of sneak out and get my Dr. Pepper, and then sneak back in.
What's that convenience store called? 7-Eleven?
No, 7-Eleven.
Oh, 7-Eleven, yeah.
There's GS, and then there was the one I went to was
you remember all of them?
Oh, I love convenience stores.
Wait, did you ever eat instant noodles in the store? You know?
Oh yeah.
I never did that.
What? Oh my gosh. Oh man, it's the way to go, and I don't want to carry that around and spill it on me, so I would just.
Oh, I mean, I would just eat instant noodles at home.
I'm too clumsy. Oh well, I didn't want to have to go through the trouble of boiling the water when they had a thing right there, right, where you can get the hot water right on the noodles. So yeah, I would. So in there, you can buy the ramen, and you can actually open it up and then put the boiling water into the cup, and then you can eat it right in the convenience store. And they usually have like a window view, so you can see all the people outside. And this is happening all the time. Well, and also students that are waiting for their next academy session, or their next or meeting their friends or whatever. They have some downtime, so if they're hungry, they could just go there, and there's like, you know, there's 30 different ones to choose from probably, and then You know, and there's other things that could heat up as well. So I love convenience stores. I just love trying. I wanted to try like everything once, you know,
Oh,
because that
what
was my goal.
yeah, what I loved about the convenience stores or just buying groceries in general is, say I buy like a meal or like a drink, and then sometimes on the package it will say you buy one you get a free drink. You know, like 1 plus 1. You
Oh,
know, on
one
the
plus
yeah,
one,
yeah,
yeah. Those little promotions they
yeah,
had, or like 4 game on one, right? Like you could get 4 beers that were
yeah.
foreign, branded beers for 10,000 won. So it was like,
Mhm.
you know, very tall. Those tall cups, tall cans. So yeah, they had a lot of good deals. And then where I was, since I was in a kind of the plaza or square near the subway, they had street vendors there, and
Yeah.
they had takoyaki, which is so good, right? It's fried squid balls or octopus, and then they put the batter around it, and they have all these delicious sauces they put on top.
Mhm.
So good, and that was like right there. So yeah, there's so many. It was snacks galore. So like, even though I didn't eat much for breakfast or lunch, you know, come dinner or nighttime, there were so many choices. So yeah,
Yeah,
I didn't cook most of the time because
I know, me neither.
I wanted to try I wanted to try all the different things, and
I think,
the
yeah.
school lunch was so healthy. I felt like I had like a lot of calories in the that I could, you know, consume for dinner.
Yeah, I definitely didn't cook as much either. I wanted to, but
Mm.
everything is just a lot. It's pretty cheap, I would say. Like, it's good deal, you know, like for a meal.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
you can get a meal for like 4,000 won to like 8,000 won, or like just
yeah.
so much cheaper, right? Like, or just, yeah, depending on what you eat, if you go to a restaurant, you can get a pretty decent meal for that price. Yeah.
Honestly, you could spend that much money on like a tomato
Yeah.
or like you know, like going to the grocery store and cooking
Oh,
was often more expensive than just going to the restaurant and a
exactly.
diner, right, and eating, because also there's no tip, and
Right.
the tax is included. So if
Yeah.
it says 6,000 won, you know, it's 6,000 won. It's not in America. That'd be you know, an extra dollar and a half, extra, you know,
Right.
20% or more.
6,001 conversion, around approximate in USD, how much would that be?
You know, anywhere from 5 to 550, I would say.
Uh-huh.
So, you
Yeah.
know, and typically in lunch, in like even in like a small town in the Midwest, you getting a lunch is going to be anywhere from 750 to $10 for, you know, on average, I would say.
Oh,
If you want, especially if you get a drink. But yeah, so
yeah,
and
no.
I'm talking about a restaurant, not cooking. So,
Yeah, yeah.
so because, you know, if you're in an actual restaurant, you have to do the 15% tip at least, with
Yes.
like around 8% sales tax. So you're paying a lot more
Mm-hmm.
than at these places. So I usually rotate the diners I went to for dinner, and try all the different, you know, things until I found my favorites, and then I would
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
stick to my favorites.
you reminded me about the other thing that I was like, what? Like, you know, tax included and no tipping, no tip. I was like, wow. Like, that's why
Oh,
we all ate out so much, right? It's so
yeah, it's
convenient,
so affordable.
so
Yeah, I don't know
affordable,
how.
big portions,
I
really good.
Yeah, but there were some differences in that they did not check in on me very often. Like,
Oh, really?
I felt like I was spending for myself when it came to refills or whatever.
Oh,
Or if
really?
I was at a place with a button, I could press the button and ask
Uh-huh.
for something else. But they would never check on me, typically on my own, if there's much. So it's kind of a different service
Oh,
model. It's, you know.
interesting. Because well, I guess that it depends on everybody. Like, everyone has different experiences, but some people find that because they're foreigners, they get, I guess, more attention, or like sometimes people would be like, oh yeah, I got an extra refills, right? Refills, or like
Oh
something on the
wow.
side on the house.
Oh,
I
service. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
service. But I think I
gotten that like once before when I was with other foreigners. I think it was just me. They probably don't know I'm a foreigner or don't really, it's not as obvious, but again, I think it also depends, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I mostly meant like when it, like from the Korean friends I've made, they felt like the waitress or waiter was checking on them too often, and they were a little bit bothered by the constant, is everything okay? Like that to them was a little much, versus, you know, over there, it's like if you need something, you just ask for it and then they give it to you, versus them proactively checking in on you like they do here. I preferred it that way, you know, saving 15%, like at least, is worth not having as much attention or service, in my opinion. So I kind of preferred the eating out. It was just so much more affordable in that sense. I guess it made it less special, but there are higher end restaurants as well that you can go to that have a little bit more attention to service.
Yeah, I think it really varies in my experience, like the service that I got. Or in terms of when you mentioned about the stalls, did you eat a lot of street food then? Like, did you?
Oh yeah, yeah. I wanted, you know, there was especially when I was in Seoul, there's this area called Myeongdong, and it has so many different kinds of street food. Like back then, there was well, one of my favorites, even in Daejeon, I had it, was egg bong, which is egg bread, and it's just
I like that. That's like my favorite too. Yeah,
so good.
The egg.
It was 1,001 sometimes. If you're lucky.
It was really cheap too.
It was like egg and like some fried bread.
It was like bread and then there's egg on top. What's called?
And some kind of syrup, maybe, or something really slightly sweet.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
When my family came to visit, my sisters, they love spicy food, so then they were so like happy to eat the street food, like the food from the stalls, and they said it was really good. And then there was also the corn dogs. Well, yeah.
Oh right. Yeah.
Yeah. So they because it's like so many different types that they have, like different sauces and everything. So it was really good. And they actually opened up a couple of restaurants. Like we have just like restaurants here in Toronto where there are, you know, corn dogs, right? And people are so excited, like this long lineups here.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Anyway.
Yeah, like even in Kansas City, there's this new place that is like bibimbap, sort of fast casual style, where you form a line and you pick what you want in your bibimbap, and then they give it to you right there, almost like a Chipotle for bibimbap. And when I went there with my friend, the line was like out the door, and this was like, you know, just a month ago. So I think Korean food is just really catching on in my area as well, especially in Kansas City area. It's been really good.
Yeah. And in terms of snacks, are there specific ones that you really liked? Korean snacks?
Oh yeah, there's so many good snacks.
Do you know the jagabi? It's basically the French fry snack.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I really like those. In the packages.
Oh, the packages. Oh, okay. Yeah, I might have seen it. Was it spicy or sweet, or what was it like?
Sweet, actually.
Sweet, huh?
And then when I see it here in Toronto, I buy it, but it's like more expensive here. Yeah.
They actually had some different takes on Pringles in Korea than in the US. So they had like wasabi style, or there was a mayo. There was one more, I can't think of it, but yeah, just different takes on some things in the US as well. Everything's a little bit different. It's typically not exactly the same. It's like not as sweet, or it's sweeter, you know, depending on what it is. The chips are typically sweeter, not salty. So what about was there any like brands or like, fast food chains or snacks that you really missed from like back home in Canada that you would search for in Korea? Or
I just felt like I guess I missed all the other cuisines, like Italian and Chinese food, even though they did have restaurants in Daejeon around, Korea, but then it was just different, the taste, right?
Yeah,
and there weren't that many either, so I did miss that. And then, well, there's McDonald's and Subway around.
Not right away though.
Right.
We didn't get it for the first till the summer. I think it came back there in our area, so that's when we got it.
Yeah,
yeah. I was everywhere. So happy to have a Subway. Yeah. Well, there was one closer to the college I didn't know about, but that was shown to me later. Yeah.
But then in our area there was other fast food restaurants, but like only in Korea, or like they're not well known.
Honestly, I like them though. Like Lotteria, Lotteria.
Oh, Lotteria. I was talking about Mom's Touch.
Mom's Touch was amazing.
Yeah,
I love Mom's Touch. It's like kind of like a Chick-fil-A.
What do you think of the pizza in Korea? All the different types of pizza that you can have.
Sweet potato pizza, supreme, like bulgogi pizza.
Yeah, sweet potato corn and like other random things that you can put on your pizza.
Yeah, I mean,
I think even kimchi, right? I'm sure.
Could, yeah. I'm not a pizza purist or a pizza snob, I guess, so I would try it. I typically like most things, except like I'm kind of weird. Like I don't like sausage, so that's like a popular topping. But I like potato one especially. I mean, it's a little overloaded, but it's still good.
I thought it was good, like different, but a little overwhelming in a sense because I like all these different things on the pizza and I like it more simple. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, right.
In terms of flavor, so yeah.
In terms of cost, there was a bit of a sticker shock for me, like with how much more it costs. Because pizza, I can get pizza for like, $7 at carry out in America easily, like a large. But then if I got pizza here, it was double or triple the cost for the pizza. Yeah, so it was, except for Pizza School. That was the one place where pizza was affordable, was Pizza School.
Let's talk about other areas in Daejeon and what kind of like recommendations and things that you can do in Daejeon.
Right. I heard you did some hiking with a group. How was that?
Yes, so I do want to talk about that because I would recommend that hike, Daejeon. And basically it is my first legit hike. And it was with the Epic group. Well, this one was like a legit around 5-hour hike. And
oh wow.
Yeah, I didn't really know how intense it was until I went in for it, right? So then
it's a long time to walk.
Yeah, it was funny because I remember how we had to take the bus there, right? And we were thinking, oh, like this hike is pretty steep. So then, like, you can take a cable car up there. But
really?
Yeah, but then we're like, okay, you know what? Let's just go up there and then we'll come back in the cable car, right? But I think it was not working that day, so we had to do like the full hike.
Oh.
And then I remember there was this picture which I like to show people because it's basically there's these like staircase, like steep stairs that you have to go up. And then for someone like me who barely exercise, it was such a struggle. Like I remember I was like one of those people on the bottom, like with a group of other people who were just like complaining and struggling and trying to motivate one another. But we made it to the peak of the mountain. And yeah, it was like really nice view. So it was a really fun hike.
Was it 5 hours total or like? Or was it 5 hours to get? Oh, okay, so it's about 2.5 hours each way.
Yeah. No, I think people were going so fast too. I was just like way up, I think going up was okay. Coming down is more scary for me.
I went hiking once in Seoul and it was about probably 2 hours, 2.5, and it was good. I like that much, but yeah, I wouldn't imagine 5 hours. I get a little bored after a while. I don't know. That's out of my attention span. I don't know. I think.
Oh, really? Well, I guess it's like with the right company too, right? Because then you can just talk and like motivate each other. And I remember there was a sign that said "Don't drink," like no alcohol.
Oh, really?
Because apparently, like people would drink and hike at the same time or something. Like a lot of people do that. And then one culture shock thing that I felt was noticing the people who were hiking. A lot of them were elderly and they're very healthy and fit, and also young children, like elderly and young children hiking, and they're like, fine. They're not like struggling or panting.
Yeah, they're very fit in that sense.
Yeah, they're so fit. They have like their hiking gear, and they're just like, I would say that hiking is a cultural, social norm there in Korea. Yeah. So that was interesting.
With all the mountains and all the trails they have, I could see why it would be a thing. But yeah, that's neat.
Yeah. And then how about other places like Dunsan?
So for me, right. Yeah, so for me, I'm used to, nature, being in a, fairly rural area. So for me, the area where I could find myself walking around exploring for hours was in the downtown regions of Daejeon. And there were 2 areas that we'll talk about. But I guess in order of where we went, right, I believe we started exploring Dunsan first, which is the new downtown. So it has the department store there. There's like nightlife. There's just what you would imagine any big city in Asia to be, right? Just like neon lights, restaurants galore, so many people exploring the various bars and Noraebang areas, like there's just so much to do, and I always would show whoever visited me in Daejeon, I would want to take them there at night because it's just so exciting to see all of that activity. I'm not a club person. I would just go to pubs or maybe Noraebang and restaurants. I was not about the club environment, but even so, it was still very, very exciting, and it's just I just felt so alive. That all the energy there, right?
Like the music, the lights, the crowd, all the energy. You definitely feel so alive.
A lot of my Korean friends say, like, what's there to do in Daejeon, right? It doesn't have any cultural landmarks that they know of, but I'm like, it's a city, it's a big city, and Dunsan is on par with in most of the areas in Busan or Seoul that I've been to, because it's just everything modern and that sphere is concentrated in one area for a city, that's over 1 million people, right? In that general area, right? It's so that's just a lot of resources concentrated within one area. So it is very exciting and very, very interesting. And I had a Busan friend from Busan, and he told me that he was surprised, and pleasantly surprised that there was so much to do there. So yeah, I only went there a few times, but I was always impressed.
Yeah, I think that I went there quite often, I would say, just because like there's a lot of food there too. And
true.
Yeah, and just I have gone there, like the nightlife at Noraebang, and also
club. Do you know the club?
Yes, yeah? I did.
Whoa, how are the clubs?
I actually thought it was really interesting because in the club, smoking is allowed.
Oh.
I don't know if that's like for, I guess, in the States, if there's clubs like that. I know in Toronto, at least the clubs I've been to, like, people don't smoke in there. But it's like in Korea, it was so much smoke, and I couldn't stand being there because I thought go there and dance kind of thing, right? But yeah, there was that. So I didn't really go after. I went a couple of times or one or twice, but I didn't really like going. But I like to go to like the bars and yeah, I definitely felt like, because the culture there is the drinking culture there.
Oh, right.
There in Korea, I would definitely drank a lot more, like socially.
Oh, right.
Like soju and everything. There's different flavors of soju. Not even though I'm not like a fan of it because it's so strong. Right?
Oh, right. Yeah, I researched the other day that they did an article on like what countries drink the most hard liquor, and Korea was number one with 13 drinks a week of hard liquor.
Wow.
Yeah, it was the average. Yeah, and I think second place was Russia with like 7 or something. So it's like yeah, drinking culture is definitely a thing over there.
I noticed too, because you see people drinking a lot, but even for myself, because in the beginning here I am, I know, trying to get to know people and like what socially people like to go out and drink, right? So as I mentioned in my last episode, I met some people in my neighborhood, right? And I actually started to drink a lot more, and I was also trying to build my tolerance, though that didn't really help. But like every Wednesday they had like a meetup, and they would go and like have to a bar for drinks.
Oh, really?
And initially I did join for that, but then afterwards I'm like, I can't drink that much, Yeah.
They have to teach Thursday mornings, so you're like, oh man.
Yeah, but it's
that
also
would be tough.
Some people, they work. Not all, like a few people were from Epic, but some of them were from private academies, and their hours are very different too, right? So they work later in the hours.
Oh, right.
And late too. So then it was like drinking at late time, but then you gotta teach the next day, right?
Right. Yeah, we had to be there by, I think 8:30. It was 8:30 to 4:30 for us. So I didn't drink on weekdays because I had to be ready to teach. So I didn't. Yeah, I wouldn't have been able to. I need my sleep, so I mostly didn't mess with that, but yeah, weekends and stuff, I would definitely check it out and do that. So
and also, I felt that it was so normal to drink outdoors, but also a lot of people smoking too. Like it was so common. Like
yeah, it was.
Yeah,
I think smoking is more prevalent, over there than the U.S. and smoking and drinking more. Yeah, and I was surprised. I was like, I think the U.S. is pretty high on both of those ends, but no, it was quite a bit higher in South Korea. So there was definitely a lot of that. But for overall, yeah, it was still a really fun and exciting environment for sure. And then there was my favorite area actually though was in the old downtown, which is Unhaeng-dong. They have like and it's on my Instagram, but if you look up, they have like LED lights like in Las Vegas. They have like this sort of setup where if they have this structure that holds these LED lights from above, and you can see like it'll change right depending on what's happening. And then you had street performers busking happening there, and then you had what kind of felt like an outlet sort of mall sort of area where they'd have different clothes and a music store and makeup and all that stuff. And then most of all, they have the best bakery in all of South Korea, in my opinion. I'm not sponsored, but Sungshim-dong Bakery is the best bakery there. You can try samples, and they have all like probably 50 to plus different types of bread that's fresh. And I take everyone there that visited Daejeon. I said, we must go here. I felt like Unhaeng-dong was more accessible, and it had this huge underground market that was nearby that was kind of cozy as well. So yeah, I love that area.
Ah, that was a great area.
not as exciting as Dunsan-dong, but like more comfortable, I guess, and still enjoyable.
I think I did try the bakery, but I think it's also I'm not like the biggest fan of bakeries.
Oh, yeah.
But anyways, okay.
It's famous though. Whenever I talk to my Korean friends about Daejeon, they're like, "Oh, Sungshimdong." So they, it's a big brand, but yeah, I would highly recommend exploring in Hingdong because oh my gosh, it's just so, especially on like a Saturday, a Saturday afternoon or late Saturday morning going there, and it's just it doesn't have as many it's not as much of an evening place, but it's fine in the evening, but like it's just got a nice kind of vibe for going there during the day, and it's also very close to the KTX, which is express train that will take you all around Korea very quickly. So if you did your thing right, you could explore there and then take your train to wherever you want to go.
And there's the other big attraction, which is the Daejeon Expo Bridge, Expo Science Park.
Yeah. I went to a sort of a conference there one time with my school, or some sort of field trip there. It's a very nice bridge, and it's nice in a scenic sense. There's not much I could do there, but it looked nice.
You can because there's that. You can go ride the bikes around there, and then it's just around the river area.
Yeah, the river's
and there's also the arboretum.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's very very pretty, refreshing to go through there. When you're in the city for too long and you just miss trees and nature, you just could go there and feel rejuvenated. And it's something that I kind of take for granted being in a small town, but when I was in a city, I did miss that, and it is really nice to have for sure.
Mm-hmm. And have you seen it during the day at nighttime too?
I haven't been there at night.
Oh, really? It's so nice.
I went there during the day. Oh, really?
There's lights. Yeah, it's really nice.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, there's lights? Oh.
Because that's how I one of the reasons I chose Daejeon was because I saw the Expo Bridge, and then there was lights at nighttime, and it's
the bridge. Yeah.
Bridge.
I thought you were talking about the arboretum, and I was like,
okay. No.
Yeah, the bridge. Oh, the bridge at night is beautiful. Yeah. Just lots of things that people don't know about, but there's all these. When you explore the city, you'll find all these. It's a city. There's a lot there. It's just, it's not as obvious, but there's lots of cool things there. So, it's a beautiful bridge. Yeah, that's near KTX as well. That bridge. Yeah, and then on our side we had on the west end there's Yusong Spa where you could get the spa treatment if you're so interested. I am a little too shy to go through that because you have to be cleansed. Is that a word? Before you use it, you have to. There's a funny clip from was it Conan O'Brien when he gets the spa treatment in Korea where you have to. You have to strip down and be naked and go in the, wash up first.
It's just the foot spa now. This is outdoor foot spa, so it's
yeah. And then in the spa itself, it's deep tissue massages and treatments and all that. So,
but this was good. I went a couple of times, and
you did?
I brought my family there too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you must have really enjoyed it if you brought your family there and you went several times. What was it like? What did they focus on mostly in those spas?
So it's just really. It's really just you put your foot in there, and then it's supposed to be good.
It was only a foot massage.
Yeah, this Yusong Spa, I'm talking about the outdoor foot spa.
Oh, the outdoor foot spa.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
But I'll talk about.
Sounds relaxing, though.
Yeah, I'll talk about the Genjuksan another time.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I bet. There's a lot to tell
Yeah.
there.
There was this other place. It's the Genjuksan Mountain Red Clay Trail I wanted to talk
Oh,
about
wow.
because it's basically the trail is just red clay and then you walk barefoot. And I went there because it's supposed to be when you walking barefoot is good for your health because it's helpful for
Oh,
like the blood circulation, insomnia, and it
oh,
contains
wow.
a lot of minerals. And then it said that like there's potassium, iron, calcium. It's a natural purifier and antioxidant, and so that was like really
Oh,
cool. Yeah, so that's a place that you can go if you wanna experience that.
and that's in Daejeon
Yeah,
or
in Daejeon.
outside the city? It's in. Oh, I didn't even know
And in
that.
Daejeon, yeah,
Oh, so
I
cool.
really looked up different places that and things that you can do in Daejeon.
That's awesome. And
Yeah,
then you also went to O World as
I went
well.
to
Hold the top.
Owa, which is the amusement park and zoo. I think it's fun to go with family. If you want to go to like a fun amusement park, there's one in Seoul, right? That
Oh, yeah.
would be more fun. This is more like family
And
fun.
yeah, family fun. Okay. Yeah, I didn't. I heard it seemed a little small to me, so I was like, yeah, I'm okay.
Yeah, it was okay.
But
And then I went to
um,
Puri Park, which is just like a normal park with there's like history of Korean family names, but it was like my first hike alone,
oh,
like my first solo hike. So I just wanted to explore that area, and it's actually close to Old World, so it's like just
oh,
next
that's neat.
door, next door. Yeah, yep. So those are some of the places that you can go if you're in Daejeon.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one area, if I recommend is if you're if you live near a university, there's most likely a neighborhood or area where the college students hang out after classes or in between classes. So near Nolandong, there's Gundong, I believe, and it has so many restaurants and areas to hang out and cafes and bars and stuff. So if you are near university, I would kind of ask the locals, where does everyone hang out, from the college, and just figure that out. And I found that out through making some friends in the local area of Daejeon near our neighborhood. There were some apps that were advertised in our expat group, Daejeon Expats, that I tried. They're sort of out of date now, but there's always new ones popping up. But basically, you just if they're location based and you make friends with locals, that Koreans that want to meet, make foreign friends, and then they ended up showing me kind of the university that was next to us, which was CNU was right next to us. I forgot the exact name of it. It might be Chungnam National University or Chungnam maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But they showed me the university and they showed me where everybody hung out, and that's where I found Subway for the first time that before we got ours, and I also saw just kind of all the different pubs and hangout spots. So it was just like one bus stop away from Nolan Station. So it was totally shocking to me that there was all this stuff like right there, and I had no idea how close it was to it, much bigger than my neighborhood. So
Yeah, there's a
yeah,
lot to explore in Daejeon. You just need to, yeah, go explore and find out what's there. There's a lot of
making local. Mm-hmm.
yeah, and hidden gems. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, well, making those local friends, because they know everything about that area
True.
practically. So you can find things that even expats that have been here for a while don't know about. Like there was a Mexican restaurant there, so for example, and a burger place that was really good. So if they're and also you get to learn more about the culture, and you also meet people that aren't expats themselves, right? That most of the Koreans I met were exchange students that were already interested in learning about American culture or Western culture, but the local friends you meet here aren't necessarily in that place. So you get a different perspective on on your culture, and it's just a really authentic experience. So any apps, and then you basically just kind of can text them a bit, make sure they're not crazy, right? And then you meet. And then what I would do is I would just meet them at a cafe first, and make sure they were cool, and then maybe we'd meet at a pub or a restaurant at some point, and then just hang out. And it was fun. It was fun to do. It was a lot better than just sitting at home, chilling every day, right?
Yeah.
And Daejeon, or having to navigate all these groups.
Yeah, that's true. I definitely make local friends. Then I feel like you definitely experience a lot more. Just also like in expats too, right? But there's another place, Junggano Underground Shopping Center.
One near Unhingdong, or was it another area?
That's there's a subway stop there. That's the subway stop.
I think I know what you mean. Yeah.
So the Underground Shopping Center. Have you gone there?
Yeah, we went there. I think we even went there one time when we were doing a work development training thing. I think we
I went there a lot. Just because the shopping there was just so there's all these stores and everything is pretty cheap. Like I can get clothes and stuff for 5,000, 10,000 won. That's pretty decent too, right? So then, and there's also skincare, beauty products. It's a lot cheaper at the Underground Shopping Center. So sometimes I just go there after work, or when I'm sad, I go there.
What about for haircuts or salons? Did you have a go-to place?
Oh, yeah, I'm really interested to hear about your salon experience, your haircut experience. Did you go? Because I went to 2 different places.
Yeah. What? Oh, okay.
Do you remember the exact name of the place? Do you remember yours?
I don't know. Well, initially I went to this kind of discount haircut place that primarily did bowl cuts, which was a thing in the 90s. With they cut your hair would look like a bowl almost. And that was really cheap though. It was $5 or $6, but I wasn't really satisfied with that.
Wait, did you just go to a random place, or did you research this place, or got?
No, I didn't research it. No. I went to a random place.
Oh, just randomly? So then did they?
I showed them a picture. And no.
Okay. So how did that work?
I just kind of it didn't really work very well. The first time was okay, and the second time I wanted them to do it a little shorter, and then they ended up going way too short on my bangs to where
really?
It was it was a bit of a disaster.
What did you show them?
I just showed them a older picture of me, from when I had my haircut, but they ended up just being kind of their standard haircut they always did. So what I had to do was I had to go to Seoul, and I went to their I went to it's called Times Square, and it's this fancy shopping area, and they had a real barber shop down there, and I showed them my picture, and they were a lot closer to what I wanted than the local one. But it was quite an ordeal to go there, so it was tough, but yeah.
That was the only place that you went to for your haircut?
Yeah, I tried one in Daejeon and then 2 different ones in Seoul.
Oh, wow, you went to Seoul. You preferred in Seoul. Yeah.
I got better haircuts in Seoul. Nice. Yeah.
So, yeah, I basically, how there's a Facebook group for expats? And I basically, for my haircut, I wanted to look for a good, salon place where there's English speakers, but also I wanted a unique or something different, right? So then I went twice, and the first time I went, I got my hair cut and also decided to have it dyed red, reddish color.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So then I remember it was a 80,000 won for
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And this was the second time that I went where I got dyed purple, and this is closer to the end of my the year in Korea because I wanted to do something different, before I leave, right?
Yeah,
so then, so I went to a different place, and then this place, basically, it's high up there. I went to this place, and I think I went there because it's supposed to be like English speaking hairdressers. But then what happened was they still spoke very limited English, right? So then I was showing a picture, and I wanted to be like, I want, this hair or this color, and luckily I had someone who was sitting next to me. She helped translate.
Okay.
And then so it was like this guy, and then he had someone who was training under him.
Oh, okay.
And then they had like my hair washed and then but because I wanted purple, I had to bleach it in my hair.
Oh, wow.
So then this one was like obviously a lot more. I think it was like 100 or something. I don't know. It was like definitely more than 80,000 won. And I remember the trainer. So I was like, so it was only hours. And then I remember the trainer at one point, he was asking me like, oh, where you from? How old are you? And then he asked for to exchange numbers because he wanted to learn English.
Oh, wow.
I was like, oh, but I'm leaving in a few months. Like I was actually leaving in a few months, right? But anyways, it was like very interesting, like, randomly meeting people just because like, they know you're a foreigner, and then, but basically my purple hair only lasted for 2 weeks though, so that was too bad. It only lasted a period of time, but it was fun.
Yeah,
to do that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a haircut probably every 5 or 6 weeks. So.
The good thing about that salon place is that they have a free meal. like after I got my haircut, they're like, okay, go next door and you get a free you get to choose a free meal. A small meal and a drink, and I was so happy.
Oh wow. That's cool. Service for sure.
Yeah, service.
And then the last thing about the I guess different culture things. Well, I don't know if this is culture, but one thing that Epic did was for our first, like, I guess you could say semester or first, like, mid halfway point was we would have these mentor sessions where we would have a group of expats and we'd meet with them and just talk about various aspects of our experience teaching. And it would be not just new teachers, but even teachers that have been there for several years were there as well, contributing to this. So my group had about 6 to 8 people, and I think we met weekly or bi-weekly. I can't quite recall for the first like several months. I think it was. It might have been at least 4 months. At least it might have been up to 6. I'm not quite sure. How about you? Do you recall how often you met?
I think it wasn't that often, honestly. Like maybe it wasn't monthly for us.
Was it monthly? Oh, okay.
Like at least it wasn't.
Maybe it wasn't weekly. Yeah.
Often that we met, and to be honest, like it wasn't that like helpful, if anything. I mean, it was just more like a social thing. I felt like.
Oh, really?
I mean, like my mentor was very helpful. Like if any had any questions,
sure.
Would, provide me with like resources and
sure.
whatnot. But then I felt that, it was just more like a social thing. Like checking in, how everyone's doing.
Yeah. We had checking in and any updates. I don't know. It was helpful. It took me like probably 3 hours to do the whole thing, and it was on a weekday. So
because you had to go travel far, right?
Yeah, it was in Dun, so it was so far, and then so after working all day and then you had to do that, it was a little challenging, and also it was not easy to find a cafe that we met at. So I mean, it was quite an adventure, but I didn't mind exploring. Of course, it was just there was like a deadline, right? So I still think they were useful. I just wish we would have met a little bit closer to where we lived versus let's go all the way there to Dunsan.
Because you're trying to find a place where everyone is like everyone's spread out, right? All the other expats are spread out.
But they could have grouped us by where we lived so that we wouldn't have to have gone all the way to Dunsan. But it's still better than nothing. So I was happy we had something. But it might have been monthly. I guess I just forgot how.
No, I mean, I think it's also not maybe you guys had it different too.
Could have been
like that. But
yeah.
You said you didn't go to Korean classes, right? You didn't.
I went the first day and it was immersion based, and that's not how I was taught. I was taught where there was English and Korean together. So I just didn't feel comfortable with Korean only since I was a beginner. I didn't feel comfortable with it.
Yeah, I did join the Korean classes when at least the first semester. So it was like a couple of months, and so in my class it was like beginner, but then there were also there's people from Epic, so people I already knew, and then there's also other expats that I also met, and it was good though. Like I felt that it was useful. Like my teacher was really nice.
Good.
I mean, it's just that I was.
And it was free. It was free as well, right?
Yeah.
That was cool.
Free. The only thing is I was not the best student. Like I didn't really do my homework.
Oh my gosh.
I was a great teacher though, I have to say. But anyways, saying that, like I tried my best to like learn Korean and everything, but at the same time I just, it was like weekly too. It was a lot because I had to travel every week to Korean class, and then after work, and just tired, and then but then it was good. What was so great about that too was that we also had a field trip to Genjuksan, so a recreational forest.
Oh wow!
We had a field trip, so we got to see like the forest, this nature reserve, and there's this tower that you go up that overlooks the view of the forest. Yeah.
Honestly, though, like as a first-time expat, I felt like I appreciated the amount of support that I received from Epic. To those that are more free-spirited, it may seem like a little bit like hand-holding or whatever, but for me, I felt much like I understood things much better overall, and I was impressed with the level of support and the professional development that we received. So yeah, I always like those sort of things. Like whenever we get a training, I'm one of the first to do it. Like I enjoy that kind of stuff. So for me, it was a very nice fit for what I feel comfortable with, and what they provided, I think was good overall. So yeah, and then the Facebook group was smart too, because it was a good resource for various things. So.
But yeah, so what would you say in terms of advice you would give to expats on how to deal with culture shock?
Yeah, man, I'm gonna get on my high horse here. So, okay, so as expats, we need to understand that this is this is the host country, right? It's not our country. They have their own culture, their own norms, their own way of life. So they're not the weird ones, right? This is their culture. We're coming in to experience it. So I think just having an open mind and trying things is the best mindset, and not ever scowling, right? Like don't look down on other cultures when you're the expat. Just try to experience it, and you know what, you might find out that you really enjoy it. I guess it's just it can be hard sometimes, but just trying everything at least one time, and just having an open mind to see if you enjoy that various aspect of that of the host culture. It's just kind of offensive to locals there if you're coming in and kind of saying, oh, things are better in my country, and looking down on that. I think I've seen people with that attitude. It's just really disappointing, because it's like you're not better than any, your country's not better than Korea, right? Like every culture has its unique aspects. So just, I think being humble and embracing different aspects of Korean culture, it will make you go a lot further along and be a lot happier than comparing it and maybe belittling it, I think. So.
Yeah, my I would agree with what you said about staying open-minded and remembering that you are the visitor, the foreigner in another country, in someone else's home. So you want to, adapt to their culture and their lifestyle. And a lot of things will be very shocking. You might not even like or agree with it, really, but you do want to keep in mind that, like, there are these cultural differences, and to accept it for what it is and be grateful that you are able to immerse yourself in these culture and environments, and learn and share your cultural experiences, so that you'll be able to adapt better with the mindset, like basically to remember that your experience is what you make it when you're in a different country. Yeah.
Well said. Yeah. I think, yeah, that's just what it's all about. You have a limited time frame, most likely, to be here, to be in that country as an expat. So just try to experience as much as you can. And if you need to vent, vent among local expats or with your family. But I would try my very best not to vent or complain amongst the locals, because it's just very hard. It's just very hurtful. Like, a shoe on the other foot, when we had Korean students in the USA and they would complain about various aspects of my town or culture, I felt horrible, honestly. So I'm sensitive, I know, but honestly, like, it can't feel good, right? So just try to, if you have to complain, write it in a journal or vent to expats, but try to respect. You also are a representative of where you're from. So especially if you're the first foreigner they've ever met. So
that's true.
If you're complaining about their food, or, oh, kimchi smells bad or something, you're going to really hurt people, and they're going to think everyone from your country is like that.
Yeah, that's a good
That's
point.
a big burden, right? Like, you don't want that. You're a bit of an ambassador. You represent your country. So if you care about that sort of thing, and I sure do, I just tried my best to be polite and be open-minded.
Very true. And how about in terms of interacting with Korean locals?
You're going to have some success if you can know some Korean, like being able to order food by yourself, like being able to read the menu and order food or order drinks at the cafe, being a little bit more independent, being able to travel on the subway by yourself, like learning those skills so that your Korean local doesn't feel burdened to take care of you at every turn. Those are things that only take probably a few hours of studying to achieve if you're focused, and then that will give you so much more independence. And once they see that you've made an effort and that you're trying, then they'll go out of their way to help you. So, but if you have absolutely no interest in their culture or their language, then that's a bit disrespectful, right? So even being able to do greetings and being able to read and navigate things will go a long way towards getting the respect of the local friends and your colleagues, like other teachers, right? And also, you might know if they're talking about you, because if you know enough Korean, you can understand a few words, right? And context. So it can go a long way. There's a lot of great resources on YouTube now for learning Korean, and the grammar is explained extremely well. There's free applications to learn vocabulary. So there's just a lot out there. I know meeting locals is easier through apps or through those study cafes where you would meet at a cafe, you pay an entrance fee, and you talk in English. Those I heard
like
are very
language exchange, right?
Language exchange, is the ticket to make sure that they know it's just for friendship, right? Mostly, not like other things, right? So, so just having there's some good opportunities for that. I think I like I think apps are the easiest way to go, because you can get a vibe for what they're like, and then you meet them at a study cafe, the language exchange cafe or something like that. But just doing stuff, being careful, meeting in public places until you begin to trust them more is always a good thing. So
yeah, I think in my experience, I found that Koreans or the locals, they're generally very friendly and respectful and polite.
Yeah.
And I think that, yeah, to, be open to interacting with them. And if you do need help, for anything, to just ask them, right? They'll do their best to help you.
Yeah.
And in terms of teaching, like what you said, to try to have a good rapport with your co-teachers and the people that you work with, the staff and the students, of course, and really make an effort, and they will be able to feel that energy and that effort that you give. Yeah. And their mannerisms and communication style might be different than what we're used to. But to also remember, like, there is that language barrier, which will be difficult, but then I always try to remind myself a smile goes a long way, right? And that's a universal language. So, of course, do your best to learn Korean, whether that's before you come to Korea or during, like through apps or your own learning or even attending Korean classes. Learning the basics really does help a lot.
Yeah, just make sure you know how to read. That's the number one thing. Oh yeah,
that too. Yes.
So that way, if you're going somewhere and you know your subway stop, if you can read it, that's exactly. I mean, so much easier. So reading, I would say is number one. Learn how to read the alphabet, and that'll help. And greetings, that kind of stuff, which is so easy on YouTube right now. There's so many good resources for free for that. Overall, and also Koreans aren't as friendly to strangers. So typically, there has to be some sort of introduction, or maybe from a person or through the app to get through that barrier. But once you're through there, like you said, they'll go and help you out quite a bit once you're more acquainted with each other. So
I've had experiences where I just like engage with Koreans really randomly.
Really?
Yeah, like I remember one time I was at a cafe and my phone was dying and I needed to charge my phone. And so I asked this family next to me, and they lent their charger. And then in the end, when I was returning it, they're like, "Oh, just keep it. It's fine." So I was
really?
That was so nice of them. Yeah.
That was nice.
And then another like random encounter when I was in Seoul taking the train. It was like really crowded, but it was randomly this middle-aged man, he was just talking to me, and he's like, "Oh, where you from?" and everything. And I was like, "I'm from Canada." And then we just talking and everything, and he was like, "Oh, my family's in Seoul. If you never need anything, here's my business card." So I'm like, okay. Wow. Like it's random conversations. People can be really friendly and open to like help you or talk to you.
But that can happen if they know you need help. I think overall, though, if you're trying to make friends, like
how would you make friends?
It's easier to be I'm saying it's easier to be introduced. I'm not saying like they won't help you if you're in need, but like just making friends. If you could be introduced or through an app where or language exchange sort of cafe or something would be a lot easier than just talking to a stranger on the street and trying to be their friend. That is not as common. So, but it can happen for sure. But it's easier to be introduced. Oh,
did you use?
I think it was Hello Talk.
Hello Talk.
Yeah, and that's also a good language learning app because you can get feedback within. But I think there's like newer ones now. So I think those expat Facebook groups, they know about those things. So I would check out, what's trendy, what's popular right now within the local area. Because the senior expats will know most likely what apps would be good for making friends, and what if you're wanting to do dating, there might be other apps for that. So it just like asking would be useful. But I think just that and getting to know them and getting a little bit of a vibe of what they're like could be a good way to initiate those things and then see where it goes from there.
Yeah. In terms of making friends with expats or local Koreans, I would say if you're part of the Epic program to
Mm-hmm.
really talk to everyone and engage with them.
Mm-hmm.
And hang out with them, or see if you can build any friendships from Epic. I would have to say that there were a lot of people in our group, like 50 of them, I believe, and it was really hard to really get to know everyone because there were so many people and everyone kind of split into like different groups too over time. But you were bound to, I would say, meet like one or two people that you would get along with, and there's other expats that you can meet as well in your neighborhood, in your city, right? In private academies, you might be able to meet them. There's communities, clubs, volunteering. Like I know, like for me, I joined the writers community in Daejeon, and then there's also Daejeon Paws, so like animal shelter. Like I did that a little bit that too, and then I met people through Korean class, and like you said, apps. So yeah, there are ways. Yep.
Yeah, I think that Korean class, since you're meeting all the expats are in there, and then you could socialize with them after the class. So that's a really effective one if you're wanting to meet expats, right? So yeah, there's such a things like that for sure. Well, awesome. Well, we went over a lot of things. It was fun reminiscing with you, and just thanks to our listeners for tuning in to is it tuning in or streaming or whatever this episode of KoreaTalk, and hope you, there's just so much to learn and explore, so it's really cool.
Yeah. And next week, for our next topic, we are going to talk about the best things to do in South Korea. Yeah.
Wow, that's raised the bar pretty high.
The best things. We're going to talk about everything from like food, more about food, entertainment, shopping, and like holidays,
festivals.
Vacations. Yeah, festivals.
It's a lot of fun things that are going on.
A lot of things to do in Korea.
So yeah, don't want to miss it for sure.
All right, everyone. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.